So I'll be presenting the movie A Single Spark. The movie was released back in November 18, 1995, and the director was Park Kwang-soo. The genre is a biographical/historical drama set in around the 1960s and 1970s, as well as the 1980s. The runtime is 96 minutes. So let's talk about Park Kwang-soo. So he was the director. He was a pivotal figure in South Korea's new wave cinema movement, and he was known for films that intertwined both personal narratives and political themes. He also collaborated a lot with writer Lee Chang-dong on this movie specifically, A Single Spark. And he was very committed to highlighting social issues in Korea through the lens of cinema. So let's talk about a quick synopsis of the movie itself. So the film employs a dual narrative structure, and it kind of has two parts, a color timeline and a black and white timeline. And the black and white timeline chronicles Jeon Tae-il's life and focuses on his experiences as a garment worker and a labor activist. So he is shown working deplorable working conditions in Seoul's Peace Market, 15-hour workdays, lack of ventilation, diseases like tuberculosis, and also the exploitation of especially young female workers. As a result, he studies labor laws and forms a Fools Association with a lot of other workers, but to no avail, as the government still pushes back on any kind of worker reforms and favors the elite in society. So as a result, he runs through the Seoul Peace Market and immolates himself, or sets himself on fire, shouting, "We are not machines," to bring attention to this issue. And the color timeline basically follows Kim Yong-soo in the 1980s, who is a law graduate in hiding, a political dissident in hiding, who is writing a biography on Jeon Tae-il. And while doing so, he was able to reflect on his on the current ongoing labor rights movement, as well as his experiences. And essentially, the two kind of timelines based on the type of cinematography highlight the enduring impact of activism on a society. So let's talk about the historical background of this movie. So, first of all, in Korea during the 1960s, there was rapid industrialization. And what that means is that there was a lot of economic growth and export-driven industrialization. But this was often at the expense of workers, and the policies heavily favored businesses and business owners. And this was as a result of Park Chung-hee, the president or leader at the time's very authoritarian regime. And essentially, the Peace Market, which was where the Peace Market was a place for a hub for garment manufacturing, had around 20,000 workers, but there were very, very bad conditions, as I mentioned earlier, and workers would get exploited very, very often in this kind of a market. So Jeon Tae-il, the main character of this film, who was a young tailor, age 22, self-immolated, protest the inhumane working conditions in the market. And essentially, this became a major catalyst for South Korea's labor rights and pro-democracy movements. And as a result, he became a symbol. He became a symbol for the struggle against Park Chung-hee's regime and against his oppressive regime, and also contributed to the passing of contributed to the passing and enforcement of more stringent labor laws. So let's talk about some of the themes and symbolism in this film. So one of it is about memory and legacy, and essentially it examines how history is remembered and the importance of documenting struggles for justice. As we see in the second timeline, the color timeline, the main character is looking at struggles for justice from previous time periods to figure out what to do in his own life. And the visual contrast between color and black and white basically represents emotional shifts between timelines, where back in the day, like the black and white timeline, things were a lot more oppressive, but as society started progressing, the color started being added back into the film. And also martyrdom, which basically shows the impact of Jeon's self-sacrifice on societal change. Lastly, we also look at labor rights, and basically this illuminates the exploitation faced by workers during South Korea's rapid industrialization in the 1960s. So some personal reflections I have from this film is that it's a very profound insight into Korean history, especially in the industrialization period and during Park Chung-hee's regime, and it shows a lot about the sacrifices that were made for labor rights. And it very, very heavily underscores the importance of remembering those who fight for justice and what cause and the actions they took along the way. And this is relevant in today's society because there are a lot of similar issues about labor rights and industrialization across the world. And we're able to reflect on this movie to kind of take away action items or themes from the movie.